If you asked any of my friends, they would say I never cried. I went to therapy to learn how to cry, and now I cry all the time. For the last year, I've been in recovery for eating disorders, specifically anorexia with purging symptoms. And through this journey, it was very difficult for me, but I was under the assumption that the hardest part would be admitting I needed help. Surprisingly, I was wrong. At my first appointment with my nutritionist, after hearing my eating habits and looking through all my files, she told me that I hadn't eaten like a normal person since the 7th grade. That summer, this past summer, I had to relearn how to eat entirely, and my life became consumed with mysterious appointments and papers on basically telling me how to eat. Those papers were endless. I couldn't eat any meals without sobbing my eyes out as my dad sat next to me for support. And then 20 minutes after that, he would have to hold me there and basically convince me not to throw it all up, repeating to me that my growing body needed the nutrients. As soon as I told my mom that night, she started looking for help. And she couldn't find anywhere that had a short wait list. So the shortest one she found was an outpatient therapy program in Pennsylvania. I would take it online, and the first available appointment was in October. It was May. So my parents kept calling every single day. And they finally found somewhere that could get me in the first week of August. In the months I waited for an appointment, I was going to the doctors. She finally understood why my esophagus had been chemically burned for the past year after putting me on multiple courses of treatment in the past. She was also very concerned about the heartburn that I was getting because my stomach acid had been passing through my chest so frequently. I had to get an EKG and blood work done. Thankfully, my EKG came back clear, but I had to start taking multiple supplements to start fulfilling my dietary needs. So, the reason we are dealing with this crisis can be directly linked to the coronavirus pandemic. The entire world had gone through a traumatic event, leaving thousands of people in need of professional help in the aftermath. Since then, psychiatrists and therapists haven't been able to keep up with the needs put on them. The American Psychological Association conducted a practitioner impact survey on the effects of COVID-19 on practicing psychiatrists. What they found was that 60% of psychiatrists reported no openings for new patients whatsoever, 40% were carrying wait lists of 10 or more patients, and 20% saw an increase in younger patients. Now, these are statistics that measure the entire country, but what is often not talked about enough is that the conditions are just so much worse for patients in early adolescence. 44 of the 50 states in the United States have a severe shortage of certified child psychiatrists, with numbers 1 to 17 of them in each state, while the remaining 6, not much better, have a significant shortage, with numbers from 18 to 46 certified child psychiatrists in each state. And the only area in the entire United States of America that has a mostly significant supply is Washington, D.C. And that's the only area in the entire country. So, let me go back. Credible sources placed the need for child psychiatrists at 30,000. But in the entire country, we only have 8,000. So that's that, and that's not great. In my personal experience with my eating disorder and being a child, I had to find someone that would fit both my needs, which was extremely difficult. My eating disorder was about a negative body image, but mostly it was an anxiety disorder. I was obsessed with the number 115. I wanted to weigh it, and I wanted to do anything to maintain it. Through counseling, I learned that this was because I hated change in the unknown, and this became incredibly apparent through the college application process. Not knowing where I was going to be in 6 months drove me to absolute insanity. And to all my friends and family, it's just I wasn't puking anymore, so I was doing great. But mentally, I was not doing well at all, and this was one of my darkest moments. I was in therapy for a few months when this occurred, so I wasn't purging anymore, but I wasn't crying either. My therapist explained that people who use purging symptoms release the same chemical reaction in their brain when they purge as when healthy people who cope with their emotions cry. I was neither crying or purging, so I had nothing to feel with all the emotions I was feeling, since crying didn't give me the same release that purging did, but now purging just felt like a sharp pain in the throat. So, instead, I basically learned through counseling that I haven't regulated my emotions properly since I was in 7th grade. So, this is when I was diagnosed with depression. I hated talking about my feelings in therapy, therefore I hated my first 2 months of therapy. And what I learned was that she kind of connected the dots, thankfully, and started talking about the chemical reactions that was happening in my brain and the evolutionary reasons behind I was feeling the way I felt, which thankfully she did. Because in normal circumstances, it is expected that you shop around for your therapist. Because factors such as therapist specialization, personality, treatment approach, and even your communication style play a significant role in a therapeutic relationship. It is your job as a patient to decide if this person is going to help me or if they're going to hurt me or they're really not doing anything and I'm paying them all this money. But when you're in such a shortage, you get what you get and you really don't get anything else. So it is expected that you shop around for therapists. So some solutions that we've already worked on and some strides that we've done is we started introducing video-based therapy sessions through places like BetterHelp and telehealth. However, this does not address the problem at its core. It is a slight solution to take some of the drain off the psychiatrists and therapists. However, we need to address this issue at its core. Introducing a positive work culture will directly increase job satisfaction and boost employee retention rates. Companies offering more flexible schedule and vacation time is an easy way to make sure employees feel refreshed and motivated. Offering online sessions can also be a great way to increase scheduling flexibility. We as a country have a shortage of employees in this specific industry. We must convince people that this would be a field that they would like to enter. We would do this for any other industry in the country. If there was a shortage of mechanics, we would make leeway for there to be more mechanics through education opportunities. But why can't we do it for this? This includes creating pathways for career advancements and making training and education more accessible. Both are dependent on our country's policymakers. This will encourage people to enter the mental health workforce with long-term retention and burnout. In addition to this, we must invest more in scholarships and loan forgiveness to promote a more diverse and representative workforce, particularly in underserved areas. Federal policymakers should expand and restructure the federal graduate medical education funding to increase the number of psychiatric, addiction medicine, and child psychiatry residency positions and fellowships, and establish new residency programs. Restrictions like a cap on the number of federally funded residency positions available should be abolished because it limits the amount of new psychiatrists entering the field. Without receiving professional help, I would be going to college with an eating disorder, which would be incredibly dangerous, as you could all imagine. It is crucial that everyone receives professional help and that is available for everyone who needs it, because simply put, it saves lives. Thank you.